here, and so before we start this video, I gotta get this mother humping thing out of the way. Mark Holmes is my daddy. Okay, that's out of the way. Ow!
Well, good morning, good people. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. I hope everybody's going to have a great weekend. Don't forget, tomorrow is Father's Day. It'll be the first Father's Day without my dad, so it's going to be a rough one. But my kids came down and are spending the weekend here at the Red Brick House with us, so we've got some things that we're planning on doing together as a family. So that will be great. In the meantime, school is out for summer. The Dallas Cowboys, as well as all the teams, are pretty much done until later July before they start training camp, and I can't wait. This is the 5 weeks of holding your breath and praying that nothing bad happens, and hope that the Cowboys will find some ways to improve themselves some more. I'm hoping the number one thing they do is they actually get Micah Parsons' deal done, but it doesn't sound like Micah Parsons is going to hold out where he won't be there at training camp. It may end up being a distraction because it may be that he's holding in, but at least he'll be there. So that's a start. That's better than what we did last year with, of course, CeeDee Lamb not there at all. So a couple of things that are really important to talk about here. The Cowboys, once they hired Brian Schottenheimer, it was different than what they typically do. What they typically would do when they hire a new coach, they did this with Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett was basically elevated, and the coaching staff was pretty much already there after they had gotten rid of Wade Wilson. And when Jason Garrett was fired, they ended up bringing in Mike McCarthy, but most of his coaching staff was already existing there. This was one where they wiped the slate clean, and they got some really well-respected coaches, okay? Matt Eberflus, who was here formerly before, was one of those ones. It's a great defensive mind. You think about Caden Adams, who was, one of the best offensive line coaches with the Arizona Cardinals, and what they did with their running game because of him. Matt Eberflus was asked, I can't wait to see the whole interview on the Doomsday podcast, but they've gotten some excerpts out of there, and they're talking about it. They're teasing it to build it up, and they're doing a great job with it. What Matt Eberflus said, his reason for coming back to Dallas, one, he was unemployed. I think that's probably the number one reason. But number two, he says, really, to me, it was Dak Prescott. It's like, wait a minute, but he's the defensive coordinator. He's the 55-year-old told Matt Mosley and Ed Werder on the Doomsday podcast. When he was a rookie, we drafted him here, and what did he go, 9-1 in the first 10 games? He did indeed. The Cowboys made it to 11-1 under Prescott in his first 12 games before stumbling twice in the final 4 weeks to finish 13-3 and with the NFC East crown. But even more stellar promise showed by the young Mississippi State passer on the gridiron was that Prescott displayed off the field, in the locker room, the community, and apparently made a lasting impression on Eberflus. And while he acknowledges a close relationship with the Jones families as a big factor in his return, it was his chance to be back and around a Prescott-led team once again, and eventually swayed Eberflus away from other job opportunities. I wouldn't have guessed that Dak Prescott would have been the reason that he came. I mean, that's kind of amazing to me, if you ask me. And even more on our coaching staff here, Brian Schottenheimer. This is actually a really cool excerpt from Clarence Hill, where Brian Schottenheimer embarrasses himself a bit, and this is really kind of funny because I can relate to playing college football. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you and say I was a stud. Okay, when I got on the field, it was for special teams. Okay, Charles Haley will be the first one to tell you that he played football at JMU. You were on the team. Okay. So I can understand it. You have your visions of grandeur and all that. And, you like I say, listen, I played college football. I actually made some tackles in college football. So at JMU. So I can at least say that much. And it's honesty. The Cowboys' Brian Schottenheimer is providing to be a great storyteller. Read this ditty about his senior year playing for Steve Spurer at Florida. I'm going to embarrass myself here for a second. So senior year, we're going to a Thanksgiving dinner. We played Florida State on Thanksgiving weekend. So what we did, we always went to Coach and the coach at Miss Jerry's house for Thanksgiving dinner on Thursday after practice. So I was a senior. I did not throw the first touchdown pass of that season. I'll put that out there before I embarrass myself. In other words, I didn't play, okay? But I got relegated to second string, to third string, and by halfway through the season, I got passed by Doug Johnson, who had a really, really good NFL career. So we're lined up for dinner, supper. Coach calls in, and he's going around the room and asking everybody what they want to drink. And I'll do my voice like he's Danny, watching, Danny, what you want to drink? Milk? You want something like that? He's going around and being gracious, and he's getting everybody's order. And he looks at me, and we make eye contact. And he goes, well, shit, Shotty, you ain't playing this game. You want to have a beer? And I was like, well, hell yes, Coach, I do. I'll have a beer. And we sat there. We drank a couple of Coors Heavies together because he didn't drink Coors Light. He drinks Coors Heavy, the original. And I didn't play in that game, so I did signal my ass off, though, and it was really good. And see, that's the thing. Here's what I'm going to say about something like that is when you can defecate on yourself or make yourself the butt of jokes, it makes you human. It makes you likable. When you let people into your world where you might be embarrassed, where things haven't always been perfect, you get people to actually like you more. I shit you not. Self-deprecation is sometimes good. It is sometimes good, especially when it's a person of authority because, when you think about Dak Prescott, who lost his brother to suicide, and him admitting that, sometimes he goes through depression. I sometimes go through depression. I was through probably the worst depression that I had personally, losing my dad and still getting over it. But when you see somebody who you have in a position of authority or success and understand that they've gone through shit like you have, then it motivates you to say, maybe I can be more than what I am. And it also lets you know they're no different than I am. We always put people on a pedestal and make them out to be, more than they are because they're famous. In reality, they've got the same issues and demons that all of us do. And once you understand that, you can really build a relationship and understand how to work together. So, yeah, that's one of those things that it's beyond just the X's and O's. In the end, what a coach needs you to do is believe in them, believe in what you are teaching them, and understand we got this. Because if you don't believe in what they're teaching, if you don't believe in the coach, that's the effort you're going to put out there. See, I always believe, people always say, and Dak has gotten a lot of grief because, he says, I'm thinking about championships. You first have to put out into the universe what you want to accomplish, even if it seems like it's too lofty. But if you don't believe that something can happen, chances are it can't. Because when you believe it can happen, you'll put in the work to make it happen. And that's the truth. The Cowboys, to a man, you hear that the Dallas Cowboys, at least at practice and as an organization, have changed everything, that people are buying into what the Cowboys are doing. They're loving this new approach. They're having fun. They're excited, and so on. Jalen Tolbert, who's becoming a star now.
Guys love the energy, love the music that we're able to listen to at practice. It brings just a little extra touch to it. And we're even all chasing after the ball, running full speed after whoever catches the ball or running back busts through the hole. We're all chasing, finishing in the end zone with him. And those are two things that are completely different from practice before. We're all having fun out there, and it's actually fun to, compete with who gets to the end zone first without the ball. We're racing each other to get in there and then have to run all the way back and, do another play. We're having fun with it. We're creating a different feel, different culture around here, and it's exciting.
It's exciting. Now, we'll find out if that translates into being a great team or not. Expectations are already changing for the Cowboys. Let's be real here, because listening to people now, everybody's going through, Dak Prescott's got no excuses. Dak Prescott, yeah, he's got 2 wide receivers. So now we've got no excuses, and we don't know if we can stop the run or run the football? Okay. We have all new coaches? Okay. But that's how they do the Cowboys, and it's not going to change because the Cowboys, well, they move the needle for everybody else. They just do. All right, so let's finish this off. We're going to be a little short today. Let's finish this off with Super Bowl statement with George Pickens and the Cowboys. I can't wait to hear this one because here's where it evolves.
One thing this season on their mind.
I want to win a championship. Be damned if it's just for my legacy or it's for this team, for my personal being, for my sanity. The legacy will take care of itself. I have to stay with my feet on.
We're going to win. And when we win, our coaching staff is going to get raided and people are going to come after our coaches because we're going to win.
All right, so I love the confidence out of Schottenheimer.
2 steps ahead there.
Every time he's been on the podium, though, he's come out confident, and Cowboys fans probably like that. And every team, Mike T, and they're going to tell you, expectations are always to win the Super Bowl. That's not new.
Yeah, that's Brian Schottenheimer. I've worked with him for a while. I love him, and you can see why he has the job he has, Matt, which is he is confident, he's relatable. And look, Jerry Jones, I'm not sure I don't know this, but you connect the dots. Obviously, Dak had to sign off on this hire, and you could see why for obvious reasons. And to me now, he's laying out a plan, how they're going to win, and what happens when they do. They're going to have to run the ball, though, for this team to be successful because the one question mark we have about Dak, guys, is the last 2 out of the 3 years, he hasn't been able to stay healthy. Yeah. How do you protect the quarterback? You run the ball, and the question is, does Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders cobble enough together for them to be able to run the ball?
I think they would tell you that a lot depends on the offensive line, right? That those backs will be successful if they can get it blocked, which they feel better about their offensive line this year than they did last year. They've invested resources in it, obviously, in the draft. Brian Schottenheimer, not just Dak Prescott, but I think a lot of players were excited about that hire. My understanding is it went over pretty well in the building. So he's a guy that is very well liked and well respected by the players there. And obviously he's bringing some level of confidence to this that I'm sure they're all feeding off of. So it seems to me that the vibes are pretty high in Dallas right now.
And for him to step to the podium and talk like that, look, if a coach is going out there and saying it, people start believing it, and belief is a good thing inside the locker room. But as I see the smirk on your face, the Cowboys, did they get enough done this offseason to be a true contender?
Well, listen, I think so. When you have the offensive talent that you have, then I think you can protect that defense as well if you're going to change your philosophy. But I always say this, don't sell no wolf tickets if you ain't no wolf. Now, you're sitting out there, you want to be the big bad wolf, and you're proclaiming that you're going to get to the Super Bowl, you want to win a Super Bowl, but you have to be self-aware. You have to be self-aware. You have to understand who you are and what perception is of you, and perception can sometimes be reality. Listen, the Dallas Cowboys have gotten away from what they used to be. They've been riding off the coattails of the 90s teams, and they've been always underperforming, right? They never punch above their weight. Yeah. And to do that, they have to understand they got to bring a level of toughness. And I'm not talking about physical toughness, right? Because we know that they have great players. We know they have a great offensive line in the past when you think about Tyron Smith and Travis Frederick and all those guys. But they need mental toughness. This is a team that has always been mentally weak because they've been coddled and because things are too nice, right? And remember when Rex came in, he said he didn't want to kiss the ring. Shotty was there. And we went up to Cortland and we became a team. And it's one thing to be a collection of talented players. Mm-hmm. It's another thing to be a team. And to do that, you got to take people, you got to strip them down to the bare bones and build them back up.
I think the mindset changes in the postseason for the Cowboys. When McCarthy run off 12-5, then they get thumped in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's where they need to.
That's the question that Dak Prescott and these Cowboys still have to answer. We know they can win the NFC East. We know they can have a good regular season, but then they get to the playoffs and they can't translate that into success. So whatever it is, I mean, I've been to Cortland, New York, and I've been to the Star in Frisco. There's a pretty significant difference between the conditions at those places.
Yeah,
so
I mean, just because we're flexing, I guess you're flexing on how nice Cortland, New York is then, huh?
It's a little more bare bones, the facility there. But maybe that's it. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, these Cowboys with Dak Prescott, even the first year, they had a great team. They got to the playoffs, played a really good game, lost Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. So they have to get over that hump. The questions about the Cowboys don't even start really until January.
Yeah.
By the way, it's Friday night. Do you guys want to get some Wolf tickets?
What is a Wolf ticket?
I'll buy some Wolf tickets.
Hey,
what is that?
Hey, if you not, what's a going to a goblin? That's another one for you. Like, don't be selling Wolf tickets if you ain't no tough guy. Don't act tough.
What is it?
Will rise like a Texas summer afternoon as we get closer to the league opener against the Super Bowl champs in Philly. Their hopes ride on quarterback Dak Prescott playing under new head coach Brian Schottenheimer.
Having these practices, getting off to a good start, understanding each other, what we're trying to accomplish, has been monumental. And then obviously adding GP, something that's been monumental. And I've said it before, when you bring in guys like that, talented guys I've played with over the years, that you look at their resume and they're winning, I mean, that's credit to them. They make that process of me getting to know them that much easier. They know how to get separation. They know how to win at the ball. For me, it's just about learning their bodies and just making sure communicating a few things for them.
Cowboys reporter Todd Archer is on the scene in Frisco, Texas at minicamp and joins us now. We heard Dak talk a little bit about GP, that is George Pickens, his new weapon there at wide receiver. What can you tell us about this offense with Dak under center going into year 10?
Yeah, Kevin, let's look at Brian Schottenheimer. He'll be Prescott's fourth different offensive play caller in those 10 years. And he's been on the staff the last 3, but he's not been the play caller. And it takes some time to build a bond between the quarterback and the play caller, and that seems to be coming along nicely. Prescott actually went back and said he went back to look at Jets and Seahawks games when Schottenheimer was calling plays there just to get a field. And on the field, Prescott really loves what he has outside. You mentioned George Pickens. He's kind of change the dynamic of this offense with his speed, another outside playmaker with CeeDee Lamb. And Pickens noted that this speed that the Cowboys have can greatly impact defenses and how they want to slow the Cowboys down. But I want to go back to Prescott for just 1 second. I think we need to remember 2 years ago, he was a runner-up in the MVP voting. He's now healthy, and that's always a big if here lately with Dak. But when he's been healthy, the Cowboys have been playoff contenders.
Yeah, and to your point, when he has a solid number 2 wide receiver, the offense looks completely different, something he hasn't had the last couple years. Todd Archer on the scene in...
Okay. That's what happens when you use pirated videos. Okay. All right, so Todd Archer. So here's where you look at the Cowboys, and the expectations are now growing that they're going to end up being great. But I'm glad they at least they put in there about the running game because, you know, when we dissect it, I sound like a broken record, I know. I sound like a broken record. I got it. But here's the thing. Let's be real with it. The Cowboys screwed themselves by what they did the year before. In the offseason, we're going all in and literally deconstructed a team. You went in there after letting go Tony Pollard, bringing back a spent Zeke. And let's be clear here, no disrespect to Zeke Elliott's father, but your son was spent that season. He was done. Dalvin Cook, is he in witness protection right now? Seriously. You did not have a running game. You were one of the worst running teams in almost every category in the NFL. Every single one. I think one category, your highest was 27th. Okay? You can't win football games when you have an offensive line that Dak Prescott was running for his life, climbing the pocket, trying to find an opening for wide receivers that couldn't get separation. Oh, mind you, we were last in separation too. Hopefully, the advent of George Pickens can change many, many things for the Dallas Cowboys by opening up things, by stretching the field, by making teams cover more of the field, which basically will have a ripple effect on everything that you do. because it's going to be difficult to put 8 men in the box because you got George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb out there, because you literally are going to need to double cover one of those guys. If you're telling me I've got one of those guys one-on-one coverage, I'm taking my chances down and I'm going down the field with those guys. You know, this is an opportunity like, say, what Joe Burrow has had, having T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Yeah, it helps everything. And if they can't put 8 men in the box and you're in a 12 personnel, well, guess what? You've got numbers on your side. So this is definitely going to be helpful for this team. And we'll see how far it goes and how well it works. As always, I hope you guys all have a great Saturday. And we'll be checking in, bringing you some more news and stuff. And I've got a couple of things that I want to talk about later on today. And as always, you know how we roll. We got to get up out of here, because we ain't no.
I'm no punk bitch. I ain't no punk bitch neither.